This meeting is being recorded. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Chris Cavanero and your host for today's webinar. If by chance you miss a webinar in the future, all webinars are recorded and uploaded into the Learning Academy as a course. You can access a recorded webinar at any time by clicking the Events Past Webinars tab on the home page of the Learning Academy. We are constantly adding new content and webinars to the Academy and encourage you to log in often. Thank you for taking the time to attend today's Learning Academy webinar. During the webinar, if you should have any questions, please feel free to type your question in the Q&A box on your screen, and we will address them at the end of the webinar. And now I'd like to present Jaume Baltasar, Systems Engineer. Jaume, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris, for the introduction. Welcome everybody to that webinar. I'm Jaume Baltasar, Systems Engineer at Juniper Networks. And the webinar today, we're going to cover SkyTP. So probably you have heard about this solution before, so you can have a better understanding after this session. Otherwise, if you don't know this solution, that should also be good for you to understand how does it work and how can help our customer business. As Chris said, if you have any question, you have the Q&A box here, so you can write a question, and then at the end of the session, I will try to answer all of them. So the agenda for today, we're going to start talking about which is the security landscape. So basically, which are the trends that are affecting security, which are the problems or which are the challenges that we are trying to face. And so we can link it through the SkyTP functionality and understand why SkyTP can help us to put security and face the challenges, and as well as how does it work. So basically we are going to cover step by step how SkyTP works and which is the chain of actions that it performs. Also, we are going to cover which are the platforms that SkyTP can support. So basically, which are the platforms that can work with SkyTP, and also the protocols. So which protocols are involved and which protocols are supported for this solution to work properly. Then I'm going to cover licensing as well. So which are the license models for SkyTP? We will see that there are 3 different licensing types, and which features or which services can offer each of these licenses. Then we're going to move on to see some of the competitive advantage of SkyTP. So basically, how does Juniper position in the market? So which are our differentiators in terms of anti-malware solution, as in our case, SkyTP. And finally, if there's time, hopefully yes, I will be able to show you the interface of SkyTP, so basically do a very brief demo so you can see how does it look like and which are the options included so that you have a better understanding. So first of all, let's look into the security landscape. As you will know, security is always in transformation, and there are many vectors, or there are many segments that can influence it. The first one could be like the threat sophistication. So first of all, threats are getting sophisticated. Cyber criminals in the past could be like individual persons trying to access to some resource. Nowadays, cyber criminals are well organized. So basically, there are cyber criminals organizations, and they try to sophisticate and adapt the malware constantly so that they can go through security checks and they can target organizations. Usually they do it to take revenue out of it, so basically they attack to get some benefit, and most of the times that will be money. But basically all these attacks will be more advanced, more persistent, more targeted. They will be adapting, so at the end they will be more and more sophisticated over the time, and that's challenging. Also, something else which is basically it's transforming security, it's going to be the cloud. So we are talking nowadays that everything's moving to the cloud. Lots of resources are virtualization. So basically, we are moving into virtualization. We have virtual machines. Applications are not in a bare metal server, but in a virtualized server. We are also talking about software-defined networking and more applications that they are going to be managed from the cloud. And of course, this involves new architectures. So basically, when we have new architectures, new models of deployment, virtualization, all of these will basically change the way we used to implement security. So if in the past we implemented security in some way, now 10 years after, with the new architectures that have been in the new decade and that are being developed every day, we need to face this challenge in a different way. So we need to transform security and provide new solutions to stay up to date and against these cyber criminals. Then in terms of infrastructure, we also have new models of infrastructure. So we used to have maybe the private cloud, there is also the public cloud, and there is a combination of both, a hybrid cloud. And then we have communications between the private and the public cloud. Sometimes it's challenging to have full control of the security in the public cloud. So basically all of these will also affect all the infrastructure and the way we implement our servers, applications, and resources. We have a great effect on how security is faced. And also, and to finish the transformation trends here, we have the bring your own device policy. So basically nowadays in organizations, people can walk in with personal devices. We also have Internet of Things. So basically everything is connected into the Internet, or can be nowadays connected into the Internet. That involves daily objects that used to be just for one functionality, and now that also have this kind of communication. So all of these at the end will be more doors and gateways for the attackers to enter and infiltrate into organizations trying to attack and get some benefit out of it. Now, if we see that diagram on SkyETP, that's coming to the rescue, first we need to understand, like, the more to the right we go are the more sophisticated threats. The more to the top, the more targeted attacks. If we look at the corner, which is in the bottom left, basically we see kind of attacks that could happen some years ago, so that have been here for many years, and that we have some solutions like antivirus that could perfectly cover that threats. But then there are more and more threats being developed nowadays, then they are more persistent, like command and control attacks, and some more sophisticated attacks that they require some solutions that are more advanced than just antivirus. And then is where we have the advanced prevention threat solutions. Now, all of these threats and cyber criminals, what they will try is to stay ahead of security engineers in organizations, and they will try to do evasive techniques. So they will implement that techniques on the threats. So basically, they know that they will have to go into the security checks, and what they will do is, through these techniques, say, okay, if I'm in a sandboxing environment, I will behave normal, not as malware. But, or if I'm an antivirus, I will try not to have this behavior so that they cannot detect me. So they will develop these new threats which are evasive, and that's the security gap in the industry. And this is where SkyETP also comes into rescue. So in these slides, what we can see is, in a summary, what is the problem that we are facing. So why do we need SkyETP? Here what we are seeing is a campus network. So we have some resources, users, applications that are in that network. And then we have the outside, right? So if we look in the right, we will have the internet, and we can have a malicious server. We can have hackers. And basically, they will try to develop malware which is evasive, which is sophisticated, mainly zero-day attacks. So even if we have this perimeter of protection, let's say a firewall, this advanced malware could go in into our network, could go across the firewall because it's a zero-day attack. Then we can have an infected system in our network, and at the same time, this infected system could exchange some communication a message with the malicious server, let's say a command and control server. So basically, once it's infected, can also communicate and can be controlled from the outside. Also, with the bring your own device policy, as I was saying the first slide, then we also have these walking threads. So we can have an employee that comes with a personal device to the network, and it can come into the campus network with the infected device, and then the threat is already inside. So we need to change our mindset. We need to change the mindset of implementing security in the perimeter and saying that we want to achieve 100% security, because we all know that this is not possible. And by changing this mindset, we need to move into a zero trust model. So basically, we need to entrust everything, if it's outside our organization, but also if it's inside. And here it is a SkyTP. And what is it? So basically, SkyTP, what does is protect against zero-day attacks. So against advanced malware, it's an advanced threat protection solution. And what we are doing here is we implement that solution in the cloud. Then if you have an SRX or a firewall, that firewall will connect to the cloud if you have the license for SkyTP. And every time one user or one device of the network that falls under the perimeter of the SRX tries to download the file, this file is going to be sent to SkyTP for analysis. So SkyTP, being in the cloud, will analyze this file, and in case it finds some dangerous or risky behavior, or it really detects straight away that it's malware, then it can come back to the SRX, create the right policies, and also protect the infected host, or just prevent that file to be downloaded to the host. Then what we can see here is a bit of the SkyTP architecture and all the possibilities. We can also see the communication between the SRX, a device, and the attacker, and SkyTP. There's a lot of information here, and we're going to cover most of them throughout this webinar. If we focus in the first row, that we see command and control GUIP custom, this is also a feature that is included in SkyTP. So we were talking about when downloading a file from the cloud, it's going to be analyzed and then take the corresponding action. But we also have security intelligence in SkyTP. So basically, we will have threat feeds that are provided to SkyTP, like command and control feeds, so that we know that some hosts in the internet, they are infected or they are botnets. All these feeds can be aggregated and can be provided on SkyTP. So if any kind of communication of a user which is in a network protected by the SRX and SkyTP tries to establish a communication with one of these malicious servers or one botnet, they will be protected as well. We also have GUIP, which means that we can avoid certain country, IPs coming from a certain country, to establish communication in our network. And this basically, that can be useful. For instance, imagine that you have business only in the UK. So your customers are only based in the UK, and there is no any reason for a customer or a user from any other country to contact or exchange information with your server. Then what you can do here is block all the other countries by IP. So let's say I could block Australia, China, Brazil, Spain. I could block all the other countries, all the IPs coming from that country, so that they cannot connect the resources in my network. We also provide whitelist and blacklist. So let's say URLs which are permitted by default or which will never be permitted. And that means that if a file is downloaded from a URL that falls into the blacklist, it's not going to be analyzed, this file. It's just going to be blocked. We want to allow this file to go throughout our network. We also offer custom threat feeds. So basically, if you want to develop or you have your own provider of threat feeds, that can also be gathered and aggregated from SkyTP, because we provide an API, and we can get all this security intelligence and then take the corresponding actions. Where we're going to focus now in the next slides is here on malware inspection pipeline And these are basically the most important steps that SkyTP will develop or will take action in order to keep our network secure. So this is where we are going to see how SkyTP works step by step, and it's mainly based on a stage analysis. So basically we are going to combine rapid response, so this information that we know from a very beginning, with also very deep analysis that can take a bit more of the time. And this to offer a very complete solution that takes 4 steps. So let's assume we start with a suspect file. So we have a file which a user in our network is trying to download. The first step we're going to do is we're going to check a database of cache. We're going to we're going to look up in that cache and see if this thread, this file is already known as a thread. So basically, if we know this file, if we have knowledge of this file. In case we have, and it's, we know that it's a thread that will be automatically blocked, that will be almost immediate, so this file won't go into our network. But in case we don't know this thread, so we have not seen this file before, then we will go into the second step. And this second step is using antivirus scanning. In this step, basically what we will do is run multiple antivirus engines, and each of them will give us a verdict. From this verdict, we will use machine learning. From the machine learning, we will get a verdict, a final one, which is going to be more accurate. This can take up to 5 seconds, so it will depend on how long does it take for the file to download to be actually able to do inline blocking, or maybe we will have to remediate. So if it's already been downloaded, then we can quarantine or block the host that downloaded this thread. So cache and antivirus could be like the more traditional approach, something, it's nothing fancy compared to traditional security. And now in the third and fourth step is the key and real value of SkyTP, which is going to be first the static analysis and then dynamic analysis. Static analysis, basically what it's going to do is, okay, I have this file. I have not detected any threat in the first 2 steps in cache and antivirus, but still I want to keep analyzing. I think that could be malware. So I'm going to get this file and I'm going to break it down into different features. I'm going to put it into a machine learning algorithm, and I'm going to take a verdict out from that. And that can take up to 30 seconds. And in this step, in the third step, we will be able to start looking into zero-day attacks. So we will be able to start preventing zero-day attacks or attacks that were not known. Finally, if still we haven't detected anything in the static analysis, so we have run these all 3 steps, then we have the dynamic analysis, which is the more advanced one. And here we will have sandboxing techniques. So we will simulate that this file is running in a real environment. We will provocate it, and we will try to see how it reacts to know if this is malware or not. And they can take up to 7 minutes. So worst case, we would be able to detect a zero-day attack in 7 minutes. Now, the first step, cache, I think it's quite simple. So it's basically just looking into the database, check if it's a known malware. If it's known, we will prevent it from being downloaded immediately. Otherwise, we will perform the next 3 steps. So let's look into more detail into these 3 steps. Here we have antivirus, which will be the first pass. And what we are doing, or the key difference here, is that we are using several antivirus engines. Here in the picture, in the slide, you can see 3 different antivirus engines. And basically, the value here is that if it's only one, that will detect it or not, but based only on one criteria. When we have several antivirus engines, the real value is that each of them will work differently. Each of them will have different implementations. It could be that one antivirus detects one thread that the other doesn't. So they will work different, and they will show us a different verdict. Now, when we have all these verdicts coming from different antivirus engines, if we put all of them into a machine learning algorithm, so that we can only take one verdict, we will make sure that we have an accurate result here. So we are applying redundancy on the genes of the antivirus so we can have the real verdict and an accurate and precise one. These also help us to protect against false positives or false negatives. So basically, we will avoid if we have a threat that has not been detected, or if we have a file that and one antivirus says that it was a threat and in reality it was not. So avoiding all this, we will be able to do it through this redundancy on the antivirus clients. Next step in static analysis, what we're going to do is a first stage of breaking the file down into features. And basically what we're going to do is we are not going to analyze the file as if it was a single entity, but we are going to divide, or we are going to extract all the features from all this file. Let's say we're going to get the entropy, we're going to get the meta info, we're going to get all the sections of this file. Separated, we're going to analyze them, and we're going to put them in a machine learning algorithm to get a verdict as well. And basically the machine learning, the way it works here, we'll have a sample of different features, good features, bad features. So basically, if we take into account these features that are common on malware files, so if we first teach the algorithm how malware looks like, then we will be able to ask if the file or the verdict that we are getting, so if all these features of our file can fit also in these malware features, and then we will be able to get a verdict which will be accurate. If we haven't detected anything in all these steps, then it comes dynamic analysis. And dynamic analysis, we sometimes call it as well sandboxing, because this is mainly the stage, in this stage, is mainly the action that we do is sandboxing. For those of you who may not be familiar with that concept, is basically running a file into a virtual machine, so into a simulated environment, and we make, there are deception techniques. So basically the first step is to convince the file that it's running in a valid target, so we can expect a reaction as it would be in a real environment. So what we want to do is this file to trust the environment to be real, and then we're going to provocate it with different techniques and see how it reacts. So basically we will be able to see if the malware spreads, if there's some strange behavior, etc., etc. Today, we can run this sandboxing for Windows and Android. In the future, we will also have OS X, so basically we will be able also to run this sandboxing for Mac. Then how it's different dynamic analysis in Juniper than some of our competitors or other solutions. We have over 300 different malware behaviors that we can track. So basically we look for all these behaviors, which is quite a lot. And we also have 50 different deception techniques to provoke that malware. So we're trying to provoke that malware and see how it reacts. Here you can see in the slide, so basically the steps involved is we put the file in a desktop, then we will start recording everything that happens. We will execute that file, we will provocate it with different techniques. So basically all the SkyTB deception and provocation techniques will take place. And then we are going to do an analysis of the recording, so of all the things that has happened during that time. Then we will switch off this desktop and we will generate a verdict with machine learning. So machine learning, as you have seen, is a key element on some of the steps in the chain of SkyTP. We have seen machine learning for the antivirus when fitting different verdicts from different antivirus engines. We have also used it for static analysis after getting all the features of a file. And then we also use it in sandboxing by comparing all these behaviors. So by machine learning, what we want to do is letting the machine do what machines are best, right? So here what we can see is we're going to get a sample of good features. So we will have several samples of how good files look like. We will get these features and we will feed them into an algorithm. Similarly, we're going to get also the bad features. So we will get a very big sample of files and features, and we will feed all them into that algorithm. And we will have good features, bad features. And then finally, coming into that stage, we will have our file, which will be an unknown file. Otherwise, we wouldn't be analyzing it here. And once we have that, if we put everything together by comparing how does malware, how does the features of the malware look like, how do the features of a normal or a safe file look like, and then we compare all these of a lot of samples which the file we have, which is unknown, we will be able to provide a verdict in less than 7 minutes. So basically, by comparing all these large data sets, we will be able to deliver very accurate results. Something important here as well is, as we were saying at the beginning, what we are trying to do with the SkyTP is to prevent the known threats, but also the unknown ones. And for that, we have to be conscious that we also have to prevent that evasive behaviors. So that malware that cyber criminals design in order to bypass the security checks, so that even if they are in a sandboxing environment, the cyber criminals, what they tend to do, and from a recent study, there was some data saying that evasion techniques have grown 44% in the last years. So basically, cyber criminals are developing this malware designed to bypass sandboxing and all the security checks. All of these will follow particular behaviors. For instance, if we put malware into sandboxing, and this malware is designed to evade that sandboxing environment, there will be some actions that will be done by this file. For instance, something that they will do is they will check if there is internet connectivity. Otherwise, it could be a virtual machine of sandboxing. Sometimes they also check the clock, or they could check if there are debuggers. So basically, they could check if the activity is being recorded. So all that will be checked, and we have to assume that it will be checked by the malware, and we have to be prepared for that. And this is a key advantage of SkyTP. It's basically, we are able to look not only on the payload, but also in this evading behavior. Here in the slide, what we can see is a screenshot of a particular threat that was detected in SkyTP, and these are the behaviors that were detected. We can see them by severity and also by type. So here, for instance, we can see of medium risk or medium severity, we detected 8% of the actions done by the malware were evasive techniques. Now, something that you might be wondering is why SkyTP is in the cloud? And it's basically for these 3 reasons you see here. First of all is because scalability. So we want to provide a scalable solution, and the best way to do it is putting that application in the cloud, so that if we need more resources, more storage, we need the application to be more powerful to grow, we just need to pay for it, right? So it doesn't take time of deployment. We just want it, we deploy it, we have it, and we can grow very fast. Secondly is the shared intelligence. So basically, by being in the cloud, we can share that information with all the SkyTP customers. So if customer A has found a zero-day attack, and this is saved in the cache of SkyTP, immediately all the other customers everywhere in the world who are using SkyTP services, they will also be prevented from that files and from this malware. So basically, what we will achieve in that way is near real-time protection. So in few seconds or minutes, all the customers using SkyTP will be secured against all these threats. And this has been proved to be much more efficient, scalable, and fast than on-premise solutions. Obviously, for data concerns, we don't save the data in SkyTP. So basically, we send the file, we analyze it, we destroy the data, and if we have found malware, we can save in the cache the signature, the fingerprint, or the features of this file, but in any case, the data. Then here what I want to show you is, imagine we have a zero-day attack entering to a network of customer which is using SkyTP services together with SRX, which is the sequence and what really happens. This is in a very high level, so it's not technical, but I think that it really helps to understand how SkyTP works and which is the sequence. So in the slide, what we can see is we can see 3 different customers. These customers will have their own network of different sizes with different number of users and using different networking equipment. So we have customer A, customer B, and customer C. But they all share something in common, which is that they use a perimeter solution. So they are using SRX from Juniper. They are using a firewall in the perimeter. And they are also using SkyTP solution together with the SRX. Then we have also, represented in the slide, we will also have the internet. Now imagine that customer A, one node from customer A, or one user downloads a file, and this results to be a zero-day attack. So basically it bypasses all the checks of the cache, antivirus, and then SkyTP starts analyzing this threat. But this, since it can take up to 7 minutes to detect this zero-day attack, let's say that this host has been infected. So now we have, in customer A, we have one device or one user which has been infected with this zero-day attack. Then SkyTP, when it finalizes this analysis of this file and it detects it's a threat, it will take action. So mainly what's going to happen here is, first step, I'm going to put that file, or I'm going to save that fingerprint of that attack in the cache. So what I'm ensuring with that is I'm going to prevent future download of this file by checking the cache and taking immediate and inline blocking action. Then secondly, I want to take action of this host that has been compromised. So this infected host will be quarantined thanks to SkyTP. And what that means is that by being quarantined, there will be, if it's set to be if it's set it up to or configured the SRX and SkyTP, for that to be happening, what's going to happen is SkyTP is going to create automatically, it's going to create a policy in the SRX so that this infected or compromised host won't be allowed to access the internet. So basically now, this host won't be able to communicate to the internet and won't be able to spread this threat over the internet. Now you might be wondering, so what happens if another device downloads the same file? So let's assume another device from customer A downloads this file. Then this file won't be allowed to be downloaded. Basically because since we saved that fingerprint in the cache or the signature in the cache, then we can check it in the cache and we will be able to detect it. Even if the attacker tries to change, let's say, just some of the features of that file just to make it different and that it doesn't have the same signature or fingerprint, then by machine learning and by analyzing the features, we would also be able to stop it. So basically, this file won't be able to be downloaded and will be prevented to go again to the customer A. And as it's in the cloud, and the intelligence is shared, then the SRX, the customer B and customer C will be protected as well. So basically when they when a device or user tries to download these files in another customer network, since they are using the same intelligence from SkyTP, which is in the cloud, and this will have been saved in the cache and the features will have been saved, then other customers will be also prevented from downloading this threat. So, okay, we had a zero-day patient that downloaded this threat. This is infected, this is quarantined, but everybody else has been secured from this threat. Now, something that you might be wondering is how to prevent lateral threat propagation. So let's assume in customer A, let's take the same example that we were seeing, but let's focus only on customer A. Assuming that we have this infected host and that we have quarantined it so that it doesn't have internet access anymore, how do we prevent also this threat from spreading across the network, the local area network where this infected host is? And this is, for instance, a clear example of what happened with WannaCry, right? So there was a vulnerability in Windows, and then this, thanks to that vulnerability, the threat could spread, could laterally move inside the local area network, infecting other hosts. So how do we prevent all these other resources in customer A to be infected? So how do we protect them? And for that, we also have a solution. So basically, we have Security Director, which is our centralized security management platform, where we will be able to manage the security for all kind of Juniper device, either virtual or physical, and we will be able to do it regardless of the location of this firewall. So they can be in the public cloud, they can be, one can be in EMEA, the other one can be in America, and the other one can be in Asia. So they can be in different parts of the world, but you can manage all of them from Security Director. Then inside Security Director, we also have the Policy Enforcer. Policy Enforcer is basically a controller that will allow us to interact with SkyTP, with third-party custom feeds, and also the networking equipment. So if we really want to prevent that threat from moving laterally in the network, what we want to do is to interact with all the networking equipment that could be a switch or a router. And what we're going to do is Policy Enforcer is going to tell, for instance, the switch to which this host is connected. Policy Enforcer is going to enforce it in the switch. So what we will be able to do is we're going to block the port in which this host is connected. And now all the rest of the resources, all the rest of the user devices in that network will be secured. And this is called our vision, our security solution, putting all the products or the portfolio, security portfolio that we have. This is called software-defined secure networks. So it's basically ensuring that threads inside cannot move in a zero-trust model, and bringing automation and dynamic policy by doing enforcement and detection everywhere. So we're seeing the network as a single enforcement point. And we can do it nowadays with our switch, but also with third-party switch. And in the future, we will be able to do it ideally with routers and also third-party routers. Now, which are the platforms which are supported in SkyTP? So basically, which are the platforms that allow us to run SkyTP? Basically, most of all our firewalls that we can offer, so the SRX 340 and 345, the 550, 1500, the 4000 series, and the 5000 series, as well as the VSRX. So if we have virtualized SRX in our premises or in the public cloud, we will also be able to put SkyTP on there. And the only devices which are not covered here that you might notice are the SRX 300 and the 320. And this is basically because of hardware limitation that we can see in the next slide. So the supported protocols in SkyTP, when we download a file, which are the protocols that can cooperate with SkyTP in order for these files to be analyzed. It's basically when we're downloading a file through HTTPS, which is the HTTP secure way, and then SMTP for email attachments. Then here what we have represented is that when using HTTPS, since we are using the SSL protocol, there is encryption on the file. So if we are downloading a file which is encrypted and we want this to be analyzed by SkyTP, what we will need is to enable SSL forwarding proxy in the SRX so that the decryption can happen in the SRX. And once this file is decrypted, then we can send it to SkyTP for further analysis. And this is mainly the reason why the SRX 300 and 320 cannot run with SkyTP. It's because they cannot run SSL forwarding proxy. Now, in terms of licensing, what we can see here is that we have three models of licensing. So we have the free model, the basic, and the premium one. The free model can be used by any customer who has purchased an SRX which is one of the which is compatible so that it fits in one of these platforms that we have seen here in that slide. If it's any of these SRX, then they can get the free version for trial. And basically what they get is deep analysis and sandboxing, but they have limitation on only 2,500 executable files per day. So they can only analyze this file extension and with that limit. If we have a PDF being downloaded, for instance, it won't be able to be analyzed with the free version. Also, we will be able to do inline blocking. So if we detect a thread that we already know, we will be able to block it directly straight away before it's being downloaded. And this will be possible in the free version. Then in terms of monetary versions, we have the basic and premium versions. Basically the basic, it's going to perform the security intelligence part of SkyTP. So it will be able to gather intelligence of command and control servers, botnets, infected hosts in the internet, also list of GIP, so countries, IPs of countries that we want to block, and we will be able to aggregate all these feeds and push that intelligence so that we can avoid this kind of communications. What we won't be able to do with the basic version is to do the processing of advanced malware protection of the stage of the chain of 4 steps that we saw. Then we also can connect with the threat intelligence APIs, and the subscription model can be for 1, 3, or 5 years. Then in the premium version, we will get all the basic features, so the security intelligence features, but we will also be able to run advanced malware protection from files being downloaded through HTTP, HTTPS, SMTP for email protocols. So all of these will be protected. We will also be able to use another API, which is the file hash API, together with the threat intelligence one. And we will be able to do inline blocking, but also we will be able to do quarantine for infected hosts. So we'll be able to quarantine that hosts that have been targeted and infected from malware. Subscription model is the same as basic, so we can have a license for 1, 3, or 5 years. And here you can also see for both of them a sample of a SKU or part number. Then, before moving to the demo, I would like to talk also about Juniper competitive advantage. So basically, how do we stand out in the market? Which are some of the differentiators, and how can we position SkyTP? So basically, we have integrated the SkyTP with the SRX, so we can do detection and inline blocking. We don't need to purchase more hardware. There are some vendors that, for this kind of solutions, they will make you buy another hardware, another box. With our solution, it's in the cloud, it's scalable, you are covered. So basically, with the SRX, you will be able to do all this protection as long as you apply the license. Then we have network-wide remediation. So basically, we can apply all this intelligence. We can have it in a shared way in near real time. So all these customers can share the intelligence and protect themselves. We can also have very accurate verdicts, basically because we run several stages. So we have these 4 stages, one after each other, and we have the machine learning, so we can achieve higher degree. Also because we have these multiple antivirus engines, so all of these together will bring us more accuracy. Then the deception-based techniques. So these techniques that can make us convince the file that is in a real environment to be triggered when doing sandboxing. Also detecting these evasive behaviors. Then it's a scalable solution, so it's in the cloud, we can grow, we can update it, share this intelligence, so our customers can be protected in near real time. We also support multiple types of analysis and multiple types of files, so I will show you now in the interface, we support many extensions of files, and some size limits are bigger than some of our competitors. We also provide this open API framework. So we basically provide tools for a third party or for customers, for partners, for everybody who wants to implement some more features and leverage the API from SkyTP with custom services or feeds. We also provide that so you can extend the functionalities. Then we also, if we put together the SkyTP, the SRX with the Policy Enforcer, we have the SDSN solution, so the software-defined secure networking, and then we can also prevent threats from laterally moving. So we're not only preventing threats coming from the cloud to infect our resources, but we also are preventing more resources in the same network of infected files to be so these files to be spread and these resources to be infected from the same malware through some vulnerabilities. And finally, the cost-effective solution, providing full network coverage. So basically, everything that falls inside the SRX perimeter will be secured. And now it's time for a brief demo. So I would like to show you the interface of SkyTP. So I'm going to stop sharing the presentation and I'm going to share my desktop so you can see the interface on SkyTP. Just 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, so you should be able now.
We're actually seeing your Adobe screen.
Sorry?
Okay, now we're seeing your SkyTP.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to wait 5 seconds to make sure that you have the screen loaded.
We sure do.
Okay. So here what we are seeing is the main page of SkyTP. It's worth mentioning as well that SkyTP nowadays is also integrated into Security Director so that you could also manage SkyTP into our centralized management solution for security devices. So you can have it as a single pane of glass. For the demo purpose, here I'm only showing SkyTP, not Security Director. Otherwise, we would have too many features to look into today. So basically, here what we see are some widgets that provide us some straight-away information on, for instance, we can see a map on which are the sources of the malware, so which are the location of these sources. We see here, so we only had 3 based in the United States so far in that demo. We also could see where are these command and control service registered, if any. In that case, we don't have any. We can play with the information. So basically now we're showing this information from last year, but we could filter it for some other time frames. And we can do it with some other widgets. So for instance, we could see which are the top malware identified, and we can see here which is this malware and how many times have hit our network. So in that case, the RASI has hit our network 24 times in the last 6 months. So we can have all this information from here, and we can also personalize that and customize that with the widgets we want, and also move this or remove one of these widgets. Now this is the dashboard. So this is the main view when you enter in the interface. But now if we go to monitor, this is where we can start seeing all these features that we have been talking here during this webinar. So first of all, when we go to monitor, we can see the host tab. And in this section, what we are going to actually see are all these hosts that has been identified when downloading files. So for instance, if we had a host downloading a file, this file was analyzed and maybe this host was infected, all these hosts, all the list of these hosts will appear here. We can also export this host, and we can see the identifier In that case, we're seeing the IP, but we could also see the user. If we have disconnected with, for instance, an Active Directory, we can see the threat level. Now it's 0, so that means that now this host is secure. Because basically this host downloaded a thread on June 12th, then last thread was downloaded as well in July 6th. But now the state of investigation is resolved fixed, which means that now this thread, if any, so if this malware hit that host, it has been solved, and now this host is secure. We can also go into this host in more detail so that we can see here the host status. So it's saying that it's clean, so that no action is required. In that case, we can see that 2 different malwares were downloaded of high risk, but all of them were resolved after. So now we don't have nothing to worry about this host. We can also modify the time frame so that we look into the information we care the most. We can also choose which policy we want to apply to that host. For instance, here what we have is a custom policy. So the action that is going to be taken when we detect that this host has been compromised is the one that we have configured. But we also have the options of including this host into the infected host feed or not. Mainly, basically what that means is that if we detect a threat, which is going to be the reaction. So if we include it in the infected host, then we're going to quarantine and we're going to protect this host automatically if this is configured properly. Same that we can see in the diagram, we can actually see it here in more detail as well. This is for the host, but we could also see a list of command and control servers, so that these malicious servers that have tried to establish a communication between devices in our network, they would appear here with more details, and also we could export them. Then if we go to HTTP file download, here is quite interesting. Because here is where we can see all the files that we have downloaded in our network. Now we are filtrating these files to be a threat higher than 4. So basically we classify the threads in a scale between 1 and 10 from none. So when there is no threat and this is a clean file, going to low, medium, and finally high. So what the ones we're seeing here are actually very risky files that have been downloaded. And we can see them here. So we can see the file signature, we can also see the malware name, which category of the file, so which was the file extension. In that case, they were executable files. And if we click there, on the file signature, we can get more details about this thread. So we see here basically which is the protocol that saw that file, which is, for instance, the signature, the thread level. We can see the size of this file, other details like the SHA-256 and MD5, and also how many downloads of this kind have happened and when and through which device, so through which SRX and to which host. Also more details that we can see here is, for instance, behavior analysis, and here is where we are seeing that screenshot that I provided in some of the slides in the presentation. So we can actually see which have been the behaviors of this thread, so that it had 8% of the behaviors were of evasion. And also the explanation here. So for instance, in evasion, one of them was it contained evasive sleep loops to bypass the analysis. So that was something that was implemented in that thread to bypass sandboxing, but SkyTP detected it anyway. Another one of evasion we can see is, for instance, that it performed checks for kernel debuggers. So here what it was trying to do is checking if there were debuggers, so if sandboxing was tracking the activity, and then the threat, it can say, okay, I'm not going to behave as a malware, and then they won't detect me. But actually SkyTP, even if it doesn't trigger, the malware is not triggered itself, we can detect that behavior, so we detected that that was malware as well. Similarly, from HTTP or HTTPS, we will have the email attachment, so we could also see all the files that were attached in emails. And we also have the manual upload. So basically here, what we can do is upload manually a file that we have in our laptop, for instance, and we can upload it for check. So here, SkyTP not only can analyze the files which are downloaded from the internet, going through the SRX and coming into our network, but if we think that a file is suspicious and we want to have a verdict on it, we can also upload it here and get a verdict to see if it's malware or not, manually. And then for email quarantine, basically there is one of the policies when we receive an attachment which is risky or which is considered to be a threat or malware through SMTP on the email. We can quarantine this email, and here is where we can see which emails have been quarantined and some other statistics and details of these files. Then into the tab or into the section devices, basically here what we can see is which SRX are working with SkyTP right now. So here we have an SRX 1500. We can see the serial number with a premium license, so we can see it here. If we had multiple SRXs attached to that SkyTP, we could see them here, even if they are virtualized. We could also see, for instance, if we connect a policy enforcer, we could also see the policy enforcer as an attached device to work with SkyTP. And then we can enroll more devices or disenroll them, or do a device lookup to look for more SRXs to work with SkyTP. And then finally, we move into, if we configure in the configuration, here is where we can see the whitelist and blacklist. So basically everything that fits into the whitelist are URLs or IPs that if a file comes from there, this file will be allowed to be downloaded without any checking. And the other way around will happen for blacklist. So basically anything fitting into the blacklist will be blocked automatically. Then for email management, if we see the SMTP, here what we can do is some configuration. For instance, the action to take when we see that a file is a threat. We can quarantine this message, we can permit them, or we can deliver this message but putting a warning header saying this could be a dangerous file, for instance. Then when this happens, we can also, for instance, choose which is the email notification that the end user that was supposed to receive that email can receive. So for instance, here we have an example on you have received an email that contains malicious attachment, so it has been quarantined, so we'll let the user know that, and this message can be customized here. Also, we can the administrator can receive emails or warnings when this happens. Same, we can also whitelist or blacklist email senders or receivers. Then on device profiles, what we can create here is, for instance, we can say this SRX I want only to analyze executable files, Java files, and script files, or maybe also PDF files. And you can also choose which is the maximum size of the file that can be analyzed. Obviously, there is a maximum size of the file, so it says here it's 32 megs. Exceeding that, if it exceeds that size, then you can choose what happens here. So you can choose to allow this file to enter your network, or to drop it, or to quarantine it. So basically, the configurations, it's up to you when some file is over this file size. And then finally, on the global configuration, we will be able to choose which is the threshold of threat level that we consider to be enough risk so that we want to block the host. So here we're going to block we're going to consider that the host has been infected and has to be blocked when the risk of the file is above 8, but we can also modify that. And then when this malware happens, or when the status of a host change from open investigation to resolve, etc., we can also choose to lock that. And finally, we can set up some email alerts to be sent to the administrator or to anybody else when one of these infected hosts, when one host is infected, basically. So that was a bit of the interface, and I hope this can give you a better understanding on the features that we have discussed during this presentation. With that, we also do the hour of the presentation. So now I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. So if you have any question, you can type it in the box, and I will try to answer them. So there was a question during the presentation from David. Basically, he was asking, can I get this presentation deck? For you to know, this presentation is being recorded, so it's going to be uploaded to the Partner Center. There is a space which is called webinars, and then you can see the upcoming webinars, but also the past webinars. So you actually will be able to go there and see from the past webinars. You could find this session, and then you would be able to watch it, even to download all the video for you to have it and review some of the concepts.
Okay, I don't see any other questions coming through. Okay. Any final words?
Okay, well, so thank you very much for attending. I just hope this was useful for you, that you have a better understanding of how SkyTP can help us to protect ourselves against security threats and this very changing landscape that we have nowadays, so that you know which are the steps involved, which are the benefits, how does it work, so which is the sequence, and basically you are able to deliver better explanation to your customers, or you are able to position this product better by understanding all the features and how does it work. So many thanks, and thanks Chris as well for helping on this presentation.
Great. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank everyone for attending today. This meeting is ended, and you